Hey, what's up? This is Seth Green, and you are listening to Somewhere in Vegas with Mark, and I am so hot, I would desperately like a glass of water. Please, please, give me some water.
This is Cindy Preston, and I'm with Mark on Somewhere in Vegas.
Hi, this is Melissa Peterman from CMT's The Singing Bee and the television show Reba. And I have to tell you, I just have to get it off my chest, I love Somewhere in Vegas with Mark.
Hi there. This is Faith Roscoe from General Hospital. You're listening to Mark on Somewhere in Vegas. And you better watch out. We know how to find you if you're not listening.
Hi, this is Shannon Egan from Whippet, and I love Somewhere in Vegas with Mark.
Hey, this is Lee Allen Baker with Somewhere in Vegas, talking with Mark with a Q.
This is Courtney Cronin. You're listening to Somewhere in Vegas with your host, Mark, and I would make sure to listen every week because he's a sure bet.
Hey, this is the Money Man, Eddie Money. I got 2 tickets to Paradise, and you know what? It's Somewhere in Vegas. And what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Hi, this is Crystal Gale, and I love Somewhere in Vegas with Mark.
Hi, this is Terry Nunn from Berlin, and you're listening to Mark Somewhere in Vegas.
Hi, this is Miracle Laurie from Joss Whedon's Dollhouse. There are 3 flowers in a vase, and I'm listening to Somewhere in Vegas with Mark.
Hi, this is Erin Hill, and you are listening to Mark on Blog Talk Radio and Somewhere in Vegas. Mark is a great guy.
Hi, this is Sean Pulaski. I'm still trying to figure out Mark Pico's sexuality, but I know you're listening to Somewhere Live in Vegas.
Here you go, Mark. I'm sorry. I thought you were she. I'm sorry. Get out of the tent. Let's get out of here.
Hey, this is Lance and Anna from Free Radio. And Anna?
And you're listening to Somewhere in Vegas.
Yes.
My favorite.
You know, that's usually what happens with me. I go to Vegas and I get lost, and so I end up somewhere in Vegas.
Somewhere in Vegas.
But I just don't know where it is.
Not quite sure.
Yeah, word.
Get ready. It's going to be hot. It's in Vegas. Check out Mark. Be there or be square.
Welcome, everybody, to Somewhere in Vegas. I'm Mark with a Q. I'm your host. This is a special, extended, long episode I wanted to guys give you the heads up on because we're going to have the star and the director of the upcoming movie Alice Fades Away, which is available on most on-demand platforms, so definitely check it out. It's a really good film. I had the opportunity to be able to watch the entire movie, and it is exceptional. It's award-winning. The acting is great. The plot is great. It's really a gripping movie. So definitely check it out when you get a chance. It's available right now on demand as you hear this. So definitely, if you have a couple bucks in your pocket, find it online. Alice Fades Away is the name of the movie. You guys can check it out. Just Google it. Find it through your search engines. You'll be able to find a place to purchase it. It's highly recommended that you guys watch this. First up, we have the star of the movie, Ashley Shelton, and then right after, we'll have the director, Ryan Bliss, and we'll have a little bit of a commercial break in between so you'll know where we kind of stand and all that as well. But please enjoy this. We go in depth about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, a lot about the acting, a lot about the story, and a lot of what the movie has. So it'll give you a nice little primer when you do rent it. And if you've already seen it, this gives you a nice little background into some of the stuff that happened on set. So here we go. First of all, let's welcome Ashley Shelton to the show.
My guest at this time is a very talented actress. You may recognize her from her stint on the very hit show Army Wives, but the movie that she has out right now is just absolutely fabulous. I got to be able to get a sneak peek of it. It's absolutely great. It's a groundbreaking performance by my guest at this time. It was a really good movie. It's available currently on VOD. Alice Fades Away is the name of the movie. We got Ashley Shelton on with us right now. How you doing, Ashley?
I'm great. Thank you. What an introduction. That was amazing.
I was absolutely floored with your performance in it as well. I mean, the character, is just so complex. I mean, what drew you to the character in the movie?
I think like what you mentioned, I'm glad that you used the word complex because that's how I felt when I first kind of read when I auditioned for it. So I think that's what drew me to her, is that she's kind of a protagonist and there's a bunch of layers there. She's a kind of a victim in the beginning, and then she makes a change to stop being the victim in her own narrative and create her own, and to go out and kind of to take care of what's going on. So yeah, I think her complexities drew me to her.
I mean, she seemed to be, for me, very, very cold throughout the whole thing. I mean, it seems to be a running thing with her. I mean, that I think also makes her very complex as well. I mean, tell me a little bit about your take coming into the role and kind of some of your thoughts on her.
Yeah, I think it's always unique to see a woman protagonist portrayed as Alice is. And so I was interested in that. Some of my favorite movies growing up have women protagonists, and I'm a big fan of Misery. That was one of my favorite movies growing up. So I've just always been a fan of the female protagonist and seeing women in a different light. So you mentioned cold, and yeah, I think she's cold, but I also think she's a woman dealing with a lot of trauma and not knowing how to process that. And I think that's interesting to see on screen as well, because a lot of women are thought of as cold or other words, when really I think they just have to take up a strong, dominant personality trait, and that may come off to people as cold, but really I think it's just internalized trauma. And so that's what I felt going into playing Alice.
You know, she doesn't have, I don't think, a hell of a lot of lines in the movie, but to be able to have that kind of physicality that she has in her role, and to be able to kind of emote what she is feeling, or what's going on with her as well. I mean, you know, how was that for you to kind of get physically kind of into the role versus, you know, maybe spouting out lines?
That's a great question. I don't know. I haven't really thought of that, but I think I always draw from my own experiences and my own life and my acting. So I don't know. I just put myself in the circumstances and kind of see what happens naturally with my physicality and body. And it was a hard shoot when we shot in Massachusetts over the summer, and it was just a hard and long shoot. So I think that contributed a lot to my physicality and being tired naturally, and being overwhelmed and emotional. And so I think, I don't know, everything kind of helped me elevate the level that I needed to be at to portray her.
You're currently over in Tennessee right now. Are you originally from Tennessee?
I am. I was born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee. Yep.
You know, I was just thinking about, you know, the fact that the character comes from basically a, you know, kind of, I would say, backwoods kind of situation, and she ends up coming to the big city to marry her husband. I mean, you know, did you see a lot of similarities between yourself and the character?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's kind of a small town girl and then marries and goes and is somewhere else. So I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee. I lived in New York for almost 5 years. So in that regard, I am similar to Alice, coming from a more humble background and moving somewhere that's big, and there's a lot more energy, different type of energy going on and happening. So yeah, I was able to relate to her in that way, for sure.
And what was it like working with the cast? I mean, you had some really kind of star-studded stuff. I know William Sadler was in it, but I don't think you guys had any scenes together necessarily. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but you know, how was it like working with a lot of the actors and a lot of the crew over on the set?
It was great. So there's a long list of characters in this, and it's interesting because they're all very, very different. So all the different personalities, you know, melded together to make all of this come to life. But I was very excited to work with Blanche because I remember her from 16 Candles. I don't know if so I was excited to work with her because I watched her growing up. We don't have any scenes, William and I, but that's kind of purposeful for our two characters. And yeah, I'm ecstatic he's in the movie too. He's kind of a legend. So,
you know, what was it like I said, physically on set to be working with these people? Did you learn a lot from a lot of the actors that were on set?
Yeah, absolutely. I every time you make a movie, it's a learning experience, and I learned a lot in every aspect on this movie. I learned a lot about filmmaking. I learned a lot about acting. I learned a lot about myself. And I think everyone did. I think Ryan did. I did. The DP did. I'm not going to speak for them, but it was definitely a learning experience because they always are. But I look back on it very fondly because it kind of was a stepping stone for me in a way to go and lead this movie and be the character that the movie's about. Of course, you don't think about that when you're making it because you could kind of drive yourself crazy if you think like, wow, there's a lot of pressure on me. But I look back now and I'm really proud of myself, and I'm proud of Ryan for making this movie because we did it. It's been a couple years now since we filmed it, so I can look back now and be like, wow, it was a lot of hard work, but I think it was all worth it in the end.
How long was the shoot, by the way?
I can't remember. I would say a little over a month probably, but Ryan and I had been working together kind of on character things and stuff like that beforehand. And then we also had a little bit of production that happened in the wintertime. So it was spread out, I would say, over the course of a year we kind of spent on this movie. And then Ryan has spent, I don't even know how long in the edit process and everything. So he's a champ because it's amazing what he's done for his first feature.
Now, between you and the director and the writers and all that as well, I mean, how was it? I mean, obviously you read the part and all that as well. I mean, did you have suggestions for it? Did you talk to improvise a little bit on set, or maybe recommended a couple of things for the for your character?
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan was very open to collaborating with me on if I thought something wasn't right, or if I thought if Alice would do something differently. And then always when you shoot a movie kind of on the day, things can feel different than how you kind of imagine them in your head, and you always have to make adjustments. But I can't remember a particular instance, but yeah, I would say most every day there was, things that would change or things that we would see differently or we would do differently or something that wasn't working. But it was great because Ryan was very open and receptive to any ideas I had.
Yeah, like 75% of that movie is basically in this house, which most of the characters are there as well. I mean, it's how easy was that for you to have just basically one set to go to and not have to travel that much?
It was good. We did spend a lot of time in the house. There was a lot of stuff outside the house that happened, but it's always nice when you're in one location and you can kind of sink your teeth into the material. You're not worried about having to go to different places. But yeah, the house was great. It's beautiful and old, and it was surrounded by field and woods, and it was an awesome experience. It really put you in the setting of the movie and what was happening. I think it was the perfect house to have for what happens in the movie. I won't spoil it.
Yeah, and speaking of setting and time, I mean, how was it for you to dress up in the period garb that you did during the film? It must have been pretty fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Wardrobe and all of that was fun. We kind of approached it in a way where, yes, we're kind of in a different time period historically, but also Alice, it's in a way how, I don't know, I kind of thought of it as she's kind of in her own dream world right now. So things are, I don't know, she maybe had remembered them or saw them differently because she was going through this trauma. So things, you can kind of interpret it that way too, where it's like, yes, we're set in the 1950s, but also it could be from a perspective of it's how she's seeing it and how she's remembering what's happened. So details may be construed a little bit. I think it's a movie you can watch more than once and really get something different from it every time you watch it, especially if you watch it with different things in mind every single time.
Yeah, and I want to also mention the music. The music was just absolutely great in the movie. Yes. There was a couple musical moments on there as well. I mean, how was it for you to hear some of the songs that were on there, and the talented actors that performed those songs? I mean, how was it for you?
That was awesome. So yeah, some of the actors played guitar and sang, and they were doing that even when we were kind of all sitting around waiting for setups in between scenes. But yeah, I think it added, anytime you can incorporate real music or live music or people singing or playing guitar, it adds kind of a different kind of vibe to it. But yeah, I loved being around that. I think music is so important to film. Like, music is so important to me as an actor. I'm heavily inspired by music. I usually always create a playlist for each character that I go and or each movie I go and do. So I loved being around it. And then Christopher, who scored the film, I'm such a fan of him. He is awesome. So yeah, music was very important to this movie, and it's great.
Circling back to about trauma, not only your character, but the characters in that side of the house each have their own individual traumas. In the synopsis, we talk about the idea that this house is full